Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us for the second part of our story. Let's jump right back in. Liam returned to Jefferson's kitchen at dawn, climbing the fire escape as quietly as he had left. Jack was still sleeping, unaware that his mother had spent the night confessing to her complicity in his abuse. Liam stood over his son's bed for a long moment, memorizing the peaceful expression that had been so rare in recent years. Everything he had done in the past week had been for this moment, the moment he could finally bring his son home. Liam's phone buzzed with a text from Gabriel. Elena's confession and custody documents have been filed with family court and distributed to relevant law enforcement agencies. Our legal team confirms the emergency custody transfer is valid. Liam gently shook Jack awake. His son's eyes opened slowly, then widened with shock and confusion. "Dad, how are you? What are you doing here?" "I'm taking you home, son," Liam said quietly. "Get dressed and pack your things. We're leaving." "But Mom said," Jack began then stopped. "Where is she?" Liam sat on the edge of the bed. "Your mother had to go away for a while, Jack. She's dealing with some legal problems related to what Marcus did to you." "Legal problems?" "The police know that Marcus broke your leg on purpose, and they know your mother helped cover it up. She's going to face consequences for that." Jack processed this information with the sharp intelligence Liam had always admired. "Is she going to jail?" "That depends on a lot of factors," Liam said honestly. "But regardless of what happens to her, you're coming home with me permanently." Jack struggled to sit up, his cast making movement awkward. "Dad, I need to tell you something. About that night. Marcus didn't just break my leg because I wouldn't call him Dad. He said you were weak, that you abandoned us, that real men don't run away to oil rigs when things get tough." Liam felt his jaw tighten. "What did you say to that?" "I told him that you were the strongest man I knew, that you worked on oil rigs because they were dangerous and someone had to do it. I told him that you didn't abandon us. Mom drove you away." Jack's voice grew stronger. "That's when he grabbed my leg and twisted it until it snapped. He said, 'That's what happens to boys who don't respect their new father.'" Liam pulled his son into a careful embrace, mindful of the cast. "You defended me." "Of course I did. You're my dad." 15 minutes later, Liam carried Jack's bags while his son navigated the stairs on crutches. Victoria and George waited in the kitchen, their faces showing confusion and concern. "Liam," Victoria said, "Elena said you might try to take Jack, but she had legal custody." Liam handed her a folder containing court documents. "Emergency custody has been transferred to me based on new evidence regarding Jack's injury. Elena's parental rights are currently under legal review." George examined the paperwork. "This looks legitimate, but shouldn't we wait for Elena?" "Elena won't be returning," Liam said. "She's agreed to voluntarily relinquish custody in exchange for avoiding criminal prosecution." It wasn't exactly true, but it was close enough. Elena's confession had indeed created criminal liability, and her agreement to disappear permanently was a form of voluntary relinquishment. Victoria looked between Liam and Jack, clearly struggling with the situation. "Jack, is this what you want?" Jack didn't hesitate. "I want to go home with my dad." The drive from Portland to Houston took 18 hours, with overnight stops in Medford and Sacramento. Liam used the time to reconnect with his son, learning about the past 3 years from Jack's perspective. The picture that emerged made Liam's blood boil with renewed anger. Marcus's psychological abuse had been systematic and cruel. He had undermined Jack's confidence, isolated him from friends, and used physical intimidation to establish dominance. Elena had not only allowed it but had actively supported Marcus's discipline, as necessary for raising a respectful young man. "He used to tell me that you didn't really love me," Jack said as they crossed into Texas. "He said, 'If you loved me, you wouldn't have let Mom take me away.' He said, 'Real fathers fight for their children.'" Liam gripped the steering wheel tighter. "I did fight for you, Jack. I fought in court for 2 years, but the system is designed to favor mothers, especially when they make accusations about fathers being unstable or dangerous." "Marcus told Mom to say those things?" "Marcus coached her on exactly what to say to keep me away from you," Liam confirmed. "Every supervised visit, every restricted phone call, every holiday I missed. That was Marcus's plan to replace me as your father." Jack was quiet for several miles. Finally, he asked, "Dad, what happened to Marcus?" "Mom said he was too scared to leave the house." Liam had been dreading this question. "Marcus learned that threatening my family has consequences. He won't be bothering us anymore." "Did you hurt him?" Liam chose his words carefully. "I made sure he understood that some lines should never be crossed. Sometimes that's the only language bullies understand." "Good," Jack said with surprising vehemence. "I hope he remembers it every day for the rest of his life." Liam glanced at his son and saw something that both worried and pleased him. A hard edge that hadn't been there before Marcus's abuse. Jack was learning that the world contained people who would hurt him if given the chance, and that sometimes violence was the only effective response to violence. It was a lesson Liam had hoped his son would never have to learn. By the time they reached Houston, Liam had made several important decisions. First, he was retiring from oil rig work permanently. He had enough money to support them both while he established a land-based career. Second, they were moving to a new house in a different school district, away from any reminders of Elena and Marcus. Third, Jack would receive counseling to help him process the trauma. And fourth, Liam would ensure that neither Elena nor Marcus ever had the opportunity to threaten his family again. That last decision would require one final conversation. 3 months later, Liam sat in his new home office, reviewing security footage from the perimeter cameras. The house he had purchased was a fortress disguised as a suburban home, with reinforced doors, bulletproof windows, and a surveillance system that would make government agencies envious. After what had happened with Marcus and Elena, Liam refused to ever again be caught unprepared. Jack was thriving in his new school, his broken leg fully healed and his confidence slowly returning. Counseling had helped him process Marcus's abuse, and martial arts classes were teaching him to defend himself physically and psychologically. Liam had learned from Gabriel that the most effective way to prevent future victimization was to ensure Jack never again projected vulnerability. Liam's phone buzzed with a message from Leo Abbott. Marcus Thorne departed Houston yesterday. Destination unknown, but financial records suggest permanent relocation. Also, interesting development regarding Elena Shaw. Liam called Leo immediately. What kind of development? She violated the terms of your agreement, Leo reported. She contacted Jack's school 2 weeks ago, claiming to be verifying enrollment information. Then yesterday, she called your neighbor, asking about Jack's well-being. Liam felt a familiar coldness settle over him. She's testing boundaries. That's my assessment. She's probably hoping enough time has passed that you'll tolerate some contact. She's wrong. Where is she now? Liam asked. Still in Portland, living with her sister. But she's been researching lawyers who specialize in overturning custody agreements. Liam processed this with growing anger. He had given Elena a simple choice: disappear permanently or face the consequences. She had chosen to disappear but apparently lacked the intelligence to stay disappeared. Leo, Liam said, I need you to send Elena a reminder about our agreement. What kind of reminder? Liam's voice carried the same quiet menace that had terrified Marcus and the Pinter brothers. The kind that ensures she never forgets the consequences of contacting my son. 2 days later, Liam flew to Portland. He told Jack he was handling some business related to his retirement from oil work, which was technically true. Elena Shaw was unfinished business that required his personal attention. Liam waited in the shadows outside Jefferson's kitchen until closing time, then followed Elena home to her sister's apartment. She walked alone, apparently feeling safe in the familiar neighborhood. Liam let her reach the building's entrance before emerging from the darkness. Hello, Elena. She spun around, her face going white with terror. Liam, you can't be here. The custody agreement. The custody agreement gave me full parental rights in exchange for your permanent disappearance, Liam said, stepping closer. Contacting Jack's school violates that agreement. I just wanted to know if he was okay. You wanted to test my resolve, Liam interrupted. You wanted to see if I'd really follow through on my promises. Elena backed against the apartment door, fumbling for her keys. Liam, please. I know I made mistakes, but he's still my son. No, Liam said, his voice cutting through her pleas like a blade. You forfeited that relationship when you watched Marcus break his leg and called it a soccer injury. Liam reached into his jacket and withdrew a manila envelope. These are photographs from the night we had our conversation in the warehouse. They show your injuries, your confession, and the legal documents you signed. Copies are stored in multiple locations with instructions for distribution if anything happens to me. Elena's hands shook as she tried to insert her key into the lock. What do you want? I want you to understand that some agreements are permanent, Liam said. I want you to understand that testing my boundaries will have consequences you won't survive. Liam stepped closer, close enough that Elena could see the absolute certainty in his eyes. You have 24 hours to leave Portland. I don't care where you go, but it needs to be somewhere far from here and farther from Houston. If you ever contact anyone in Jack's orbit again, his school, his friends, his neighbors, his doctors, our next conversation will be our last conversation. Elena finally got the door open and stumbled inside. Before she could close it, Liam placed his hand against the frame. One more thing, Elena. I've been monitoring your communications for months. If you're thinking about going to the police or trying to get lawyers involved, remember that I have recordings of you confessing to enabling child abuse. The only reason you're not already in prison is because I choose to let you remain free. Liam removed his hand from the door frame. Make better choices, Elena. Your life depends on it. The door slammed shut, and Liam heard multiple locks engaging. He walked away, knowing that Elena would comply with his instructions. Some people needed to be told twice, but Elena wasn't one of them. She understood now that Liam Carter was not a man who made idle threats. The flight back to Houston gave Liam time to reflect on the past 3 months. He had systematically dismantled every threat to his son's safety. Marcus Thorne had fled the state and would never return. The Pinter brothers had abandoned their criminal activities and left town permanently. Elena had been neutralized as a threat to Jack's stability. More importantly, Liam had proven to himself and his son that some principles were worth fighting for, regardless of the cost. When Liam arrived home, he found Jack in the living room practicing guitar, a hobby he had abandoned during the years with Marcus but had recently rediscovered. "How was your business trip, Dad?" Jack asked, not looking up from his instrument. "Successful," Liam replied. "All the loose ends are tied up now." Jack nodded and continued playing. He was old enough to understand that his father's business trips involved more than financial planning, and wise enough not to ask for details he didn't need to know. Liam sat in his chair and listened to his son play, feeling a peace he hadn't experienced in years. Outside, the security system monitored the perimeter. Inside, his son was safe, healthy, and whole. Some prices were worth paying. Some lines were worth defending. Some wars were worth winning regardless of the cost. Liam Carter had won his war. 1 year later, Liam stood in the bleachers, watching Jack pitch in the regional championship game. His son had grown 4 inches and gained 30 pounds of muscle, transforming from Marcus's victim into a confident young man who commanded respect from his peers and adults alike. The transformation hadn't been easy. Jack had struggled with anger, nightmares, and trust issues for months after leaving Portland. But Liam had been patient, providing steady support while his son healed from the psychological wounds Marcus and Elena had inflicted. Now Jack was 17, a starting pitcher with a legitimate chance at a college scholarship, and more importantly, a young man who understood his own worth. Liam's phone buzzed with a message from Gabriel Diaz. "Annual security review complete. No threats detected. Marcus Thorne confirmed deceased. Car accident in Nevada 6 months ago. Elena Shaw remains in Canada under an assumed identity. Pinter family permanently relocated to Florida. No criminal activity detected." Liam deleted the message without surprise. He had expected Marcus's eventual death. Men like him tended to create enemies wherever they went, and without the Pinter family's protection, Marcus had been vulnerable to retaliation from his many victims. Elena's survival was more surprising, but Liam felt no remorse about driving her into permanent exile. She had made her choice when she enabled Marcus's abuse of Jack. Living under an assumed identity in a foreign country was a more merciful fate than she deserved. "Strike 3, the umpire called, and Liam watched Jack pump his fist as he struck out the final batter. The crowd erupted in celebration as Jack's team advanced to the state championship. After the game, Liam waited by the team bus while Jack gathered his equipment. Several other parents approached to congratulate him on his son's performance, and Liam accepted their praise with the quiet pride of a father who had fought to earn the right to watch his child succeed. "Dad," Jack said, appearing beside him with his gear bag, "Coach Williams wants to know if you can drive me to the recruitment meeting tomorrow. Says there's a scout from UT who's specifically interested in talking to me." "Of course," Liam replied. "We'll leave early to make sure you have plenty of time to make a good impression." As they drove home through the Houston suburbs, Liam reflected on the choices that had brought them to this moment. He had sacrificed his career, spent a fortune on security and legal fees, and crossed moral lines that most people would never consider crossing. But Jack was safe, healthy, and thriving. The nightmares had stopped. The anger had been channeled into positive activities. The boy who had once cowered before Marcus Thorne now faced the world with confidence and strength. Some prices were worth paying. "Dad," Jack said as they pulled into their driveway, "I know you've never told me exactly what happened to Marcus and Mom, and I don't need to know the details, but I want you to know that I understand you did what you had to do to protect me." Liam parked the car and turned to face his son. "What makes you say that?" "Because I know you," Jack replied. "I know you would never let anyone hurt me if you had the power to stop it. And I know that sometimes stopping bad people requires doing things that good people don't usually do." Liam felt a mix of pride and concern. His son had developed a wisdom beyond his years, but that wisdom came from experiencing evil firsthand. "Do you think that makes me a bad person?" Jack considered the question seriously. "I think it makes you my father. Marcus used to tell me that you abandoned me because you didn't really love me. But everything you've done proves that you love me more than anything else in the world." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, a father and son understanding each other in ways that didn't require words. "I'm proud of you, Jack," Liam said finally. "Not just for baseball, but for who you've become. You could have let what Marcus did make you weak or bitter or afraid. Instead, you became stronger." "I learned from watching you," Jack replied. "You taught me that some things are worth fighting for, no matter what it costs." Liam smiled, a genuine expression of happiness that had been rare in the years after his divorce. Just remember to choose your battles wisely. Not every fight is worth winning. I will, Dad, but if someone ever threatens our family again. Jack left the sentence unfinished, but Liam understood. His son had learned the same lesson that Liam had been forced to learn. That evil exists in the world, that legal systems sometimes fail to protect the innocent, and that sometimes good people must do terrible things to protect what they love. It was a harsh but necessary lesson for a 17-year-old to learn. As they walked toward the house, Liam felt the satisfaction of a mission completed. He had set out to protect his son and punish those who had hurt him. He had succeeded on both counts. Marcus Thorne was dead. The Pinter family was scattered. And Elena Shaw was living in exile under an assumed name. More importantly, Jack was safe, successful, and psychologically whole. Liam had paid a price for this victory. He had crossed lines that couldn't be uncrossed, made enemies who would never forgive, and accepted that he would never again be the man he had been before Marcus broke his son's leg. But some transformations were worth embracing. Some prices were worth paying. Some wars were worth winning regardless of the moral cost. Liam Carter had protected his family, defeated his enemies, and secured his son's future. In the end, that was all that mattered. The rest was just details. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this. See you next time.